Today guys, I'm going to show you how to replace the alternator bracket gasket on this 2008 BMW 750 Li. Okay, so we've done some work here yesterday, so that's why we left some parts off. Like we already removed the belt, the tensioner that's supposed to be here, the upper alternator bolt, the lower one is still there. So next thing we're going to do is remove this bracket from here. It's like torx 30 bolts all around it. I think it's 10, yeah, it's 10 bolts. And after that, we're going to remove this plastic piece right here with it's a oil cooler line. It goes right here, so we'll just move it all the way. All the bolts are removed, so we can easily just take it away and put it somewhere. The next thing we're going to do is remove 5 torx 25 bolts from here. One is right here. Right here, exactly the same one on the other side, as you can see, and one here in the middle, and right here. You need to move these lines a bit to reach it, but it's right here. And also, I'm gonna take this hose away, nice and easy, so we can move the fan out of the way. Okay, so all the 5 bolts removed. Now we take this out of the way. Lift this thing up. In order to get the last bolt, we need to move the lines a little bit, so just bend them a little bit, doesn't hurt. And here you go, here's your oil cooler. I'll put it somewhere for now, but I'll probably keep it like that if it will allow me. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is remove the fan to give ourselves more room. And in order to do so, we need to remove this electrical connector first, which doesn't have any. Oh, yeah, it does have. Looks like everything's broken here. Everything. Okay, so we'll remove the one electrical connector, and I can move it somewhere over here, out of the way. The next thing, how to remove the fan. So lift it up. Can you point the camera right here, close? And you bend this side. You see? This is how it's supposed to be. Go like this, and then we just lift it up. Be careful with the hose, don't break it, and it's out of the way. So now we're going to remove the alternator itself, and it's held by 2 16mm bolts. One of them, this is the upper one right here, and we're going to remove the lower one. The battery is disconnected, so really easy to remove. And that's the second bolt for the alternator. And now we definitely have here the wires, one electrical connector and the other one is the positive cable. I'm going to move this out of the way, even though not necessary. And I'm going to use my brake bar to move the alternator a little bit. Let's see. Still not moving enough. Let's just use a screwdriver then. In order to remove the alternator now, we need to take off this pulley. It's a torx 50 idler pulley that sits on the alternator. Just remove the pulley and then we'll remove the alternator. Okay, so now we're ready to remove the alternator. I'll try it by hand first. It doesn't move, you can use the screwdriver right here. And we also can use the brake bar. Okay. Now the alternator is almost out. There's one electrical connector and one 13 millimeter for the positive wire. So this is out. Here's the 13 millimeter nut. Take this and it's totally out. What do we have next is we need to remove this nut, 13 millimeter. This bolt also is 13 millimeter. That's for power steering pump. And the bracket itself is held by this 13 millimeter bolt, the one right here, and the one torx 40 right here in the hole. So this is all three bolts that hold the alternator bracket from the front. And as I remember, it's 3 or 4 bolts on the side. So we're going to remove those two, well, at least loosen it a little bit. And there's one more bolt that holds this power steering pump in place. It's an Allen 6 millimeter socket in the back right there. You can't see it, but you definitely can feel it, and you can remove it from here. So I'm going to remove this 6 millimeter Allen from here. Put the socket first. So next thing we're gonna do is prepare a subframe drop. So first thing we gotta do is to remove motor mounts. So I got like plenty of extensions right here. And it's which one is it? E14 socket. And I start fishing for just got my Okay, in order to remove the driver's side motor mount, it's a good idea to move this power steering reservoir out of the way. This is just two 10 millimeter nuts. And just lift it off. Also, well, we can disconnect this again. Alright, so it gives us more or less clear view of the bolt right there on the engine mount. You barely can see it, but it's right here. Yeah, I'm touching it. So okay, so now I'm gonna remove this bolt, E14. Once again, it's on. You see, it's all straight down, so you'll see better with your eyes. And it's out. I'm gonna use my magnet to pick it up. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is put the engine support bar in here, hook up the engine, and then we're gonna lift the whole car, remove the front wheels, and drop the subframe. And I'll show you how. support bar. We can show exactly where and how. It's a standard engine support bar from Harbor Freight Tools. Show right here where it sits, and on the other side, exactly the same position. And I used chain this time to hold the engine in place. Just lifted it a little bit so there is tension in here. And we're gonna lift the whole car up, remove the wheels, put it on jack stands, of course, and drop the subframe after that. So right now we're gonna remove the subframe, and in order to do so, we need to remove this 5 16mm bolts that hold the reinforcement plate. This black thing right here. And after that, we're gonna remove 6 18mm long bolts that hold the subframe. Nothing else holds it, so that's pretty much it. This 5 bolts located all around the perimeter. So we're gonna remove them first. Remove this reinforcement plate. And back. So after I remove the 4 bolts out of 6, I'm gonna leave 2 in the middle, and I'm gonna put the jack right here to support the subframe, and I'm gonna take those bolts out and easily lower the subframe down. Okay, so we got the jack right here in the middle of the subframe, and I'm gonna remove the last 2 bolts, one on this side right here, and the one on the other side. Okay, so right now, all 6 bolts removed, we can lower the subframe. I didn't lower it all the way, but this most likely is going to be enough to remove the power steering pump and the place where engine mount goes. That's like sport arm. And then we'll be able to remove the alternator bracket. That's it. I'm going to remove this 6mm Allen bolt that holds the power steering pump in the back. I just need to feel it. It's right here. So I'm going to install the socket first with extension. And it's on. And just remove it with this little ratchet. And it's loose. I'm just going to continue with the ratchet. And then we're going to remove this 13mm nut and bolt in the front of the pump. And we will be able to lower the whole pump down. It will clear us the way to the bracket and to the other stuff. Okay, so I'm removing the power steering pump. It's going to be one long bolt, 13mm, the one I'm removing right now. And just a nut right here. hold the pump and take it off. And right now we're just gonna slide the pump out of the thread that it has over there. Just like that, and we'll work all the way. Alrighty. Well, at the same time, I already removed Torx 40 bolt from here, from the bracket. I can also remove this bolt and this right here, and we'll go under to remove the parts of the motor mount and the bracket after that. I'm gonna remove this 13mm bolt that holds the oil cooler line, and I'm gonna do it from this position. Show me. Right here. So I'm gonna reach out right here and remove this bolt, which are already loose. Also, from this position, I can remove this 13mm right here. And after that, after I remove these lines, I will have access to this bolt, this one in the back, and it's going to be a little bit challenging, but the one up there, and of course this one, so we can remove this whole thing. And after I remove this whole thing, I'm still going to be at the same position all the time, so there's different ways to do it. You can do it through this gap right here, but it's kind of challenging because you have like the brake rotor on the way and a lot of things, like you need a very long extensions. Or you can do it with the short extensions from here, which is, as I find, is simpler and a better way to do it. Okay guys, so we removed the line. I'll keep this thing in place, and I already was able to reach this bolt. And I'm going to remove this one right now. You see I'm using a bigger wrench to create kind of like more force. Here we go. This one's loose, the one in the back. Here we go. And the last one, I'll probably just find it first, put the socket on, and then find it with the wrench. Okay, so I decided to take this bolt out from the wheel side. It's possible to do it from there, but it's really hard to kind of feel the bolt and put the socket on. So we're going to do it from here. So I'm removing the last bolt. And there's two different bolts, two long ones, they're closer to me, and two short ones, they are in the back. So now this thing is out, and we can either take it out or leave it here. It doesn't really matter. Like it's completely up to you. I'm just gonna leave it here. I don't need it. The reason we need to remove this thing is to get this bolt right here. I think this is 16mm bolt, and this is the last one that holds this bracket in place. So I'm gonna remove it right now. Alright, and just with my fingers. So this is the last bolt that holds the bracket, and we actually now can just remove the bracket. You can use the screwdriver to help you a little bit, but that's it. And this is your leaking alternator bracket gasket right here, this guy. So I'm just gonna remove this old gasket. It's very old. It's cracking. You see it all cracked. So what I want to tell you, just a little thing, like let's step closer here. So these guys right here, they move, so that you can push them in, just screw clockwise, or take them out. So, well, probably you won't need to do that, but if you can't put the bracket on and something just doesn't feel right, this is this guy. So you just need a little turn them in, right here, and that's pretty much it. Now it's gonna sit well, or just don't touch them. If you do accidentally touch them, just know what to do. No hammers, no nothing, clockwise, counterclockwise, regular thing. Alright, so we're gonna put this bracket back on, and there is two things in here in the back, like those two guys. It should sit right on them. just like that. Alright, and now I'm gonna hold it in the front and we'll tie everything back on. I can put the 13 easy. Yeah, this is a 16 mil from the back. I'll remove the last. I'll just hand tie it. And then there is a somewhere. Right, let's go up. Then I'm gonna put this two 13mm bolts in the front. Remember where you took them? Right here. Here's the one. And another one goes right in here. And our next thing, it's a torx 40 bolt right here. It goes in a hole right over here. So before you tighten everything, just line up everything, hand tie it, and then only after that you can tie them up. Alright, so here's 3 bolts in here in the front. This is the one, second, and the third torx 40. So put them in, tighten them like a little bit with a hand tight, like this. And then put the rest of the bolts in, and only after that you can completely tie them up. Alrighty, so the bracket is on. I already tightened it up. So now I'm gonna install this thing, part of a engine mount. I'm gonna use this bolt. Put them in the nearest hole, tighten it in a little bit, screw it in. Alright, it's on. And now I'm going to use another one to put it in the proper position. Okay, somewhere over here. This is the hardest part. But once you got these 2 bolts, it's technically all good. You can choose any 2 holes. I just think it's like a closest one is the simplest one. Alright, so we installed this bracket. It's all tight, everything's good. And the last thing we do here is put this line back on, make sure the O-rings are on the lines. Just simply push it in. Now this is not all the way in. As you can see, this line's like alright. Okay, just push it all the way in, make sure nothing's sticking out, and then you can pull the bolt and tighten it. Alright, so the next thing I did is installing the alternator while the power steering pump is out. It just makes it easier to install the alternator right now, and installing the power steering pump after that, it's not big of a deal. So the alternator is all connected, bolts are tight, and I removed the pulley from the alternator when I was taking this out. So right now I'm going to put the power steering pump back on, and after that, just like that, we install the back bolt first, or actually looks like I'll just push this long one in here, and this bolt. And we'll put this one in the back, 6mm Allen, just to remind you. That's it. Okay, so we installed the power steering pump, the alternator, so almost everything in the front is done. Everything underneath is done, so all we need to do is to lift the subframe up, connect it to the engine mounts, and then connect the subframe all together. So what we're going to do now is put the jack on the subframe, and let it go up. Okay, so I always work alone, so this is the way I do it. Like I'm watching it go straight up and using my legs to pump the jack. Okay, the front mat. So I'm just gonna put bolts in the front. Front first, then on the other side, then the middle. Then I will be able to drop it a little bit and work in the back. Okay, so I'm gonna lose the subframe a little bit. If you see, it doesn't go anywhere. Move it more towards the back. Now tighten the middle completely and put the bolt in the back. And it is in right here. Center is good. And the last bolt in the subframe. Alright, the subframe is in place. So now we can remove the jack, tighten all the bolts, and install the reinforcement plate. Just 5 bolts in here, very simple. And we're done underneath. Alright, so we're going to install the engine mount bolts right now. And on the driver's side, I think I will be able to do it with the hand. Yep, got it in the hole. Make a couple turns and it's in place. It's right there. In order to do the other side, I'm going to use the magnet, bolt right here. And you can see the hole from here. It's easier if you remove the expansion tank, but I think I can make it without it. All I need is to drop the bolt in the hole, and that's it. It's right here. So the next thing, very long extension. I'm going to guide it with the hands. It's on. Okay, so the engine mount's installed. That means that the only thing left to do is reinforcement plate underneath. I didn't install it because if you drop the bolt from the engine mount, it's easier to pick it up. So we're going to install this underneath, and now we'll be able to lower the car. And we can move this back in place and all of these hoses. And then we'll continue with the front end. I'll move this out of the way. We'll install everything backwards. So the fan first, then this thing, and everything over there. I'll show you how to do it after we lower it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is install the tensioner right here. The tensioner is held by just one bolt, and it goes right here to stay in place. Okay, make sure it's in the right place. We're all good here. And the next thing is going to be the pulley. that sits on the alternator. Torx 50 right here, and we just screw it in. Nice and simple. Okay, so now we're going to install the belt. I'll start with the power steering pump, going around the pulley, then alternator. Right here. Then it goes to the crankshaft pulley, around here on the tensioner and the pump. So I'm just going to move it from the tensioner, let it sit on the pump, just like that. And then torx 60. We move it clockwise. And release the tensioner, and here you go. Make sure the belt sits right on all of the grooves. And we replaced the water pump yesterday, so we're going to tighten those bolts when the belt is in. Thing to do, the fan. Same way we took it off, we'll put it back on just to make sure it doesn't damage any hoses. And this thing right here, when you reach this level, just press it in. And that's it, the fan is installed. The only thing left is put this one back on. So this is in place, this is in place. We put the hose, and now we can connect this hose and this hose. Alright, hold on here. The next thing to do is install this oil cooler back in place. Alright, it's right where it's supposed to be, and now we just need to install 5 torx 25 screws. This part is done as well. And after that, all we gotta do is, after we install these 5 screws, we'll put this hose right where it belongs and put this thing back in place. And that's it. Install the cabin filters, the air filters and the air intake, and we actually done. Guys, so the car is back together, everything's fine, no oil leaks anymore. Now you know how to replace the alternator bracket gasket, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'll be happy to answer them. More videos coming, stay tuned.